The quarterback controversy is in full effect in Philadelphia, but are Philadelphia Eagle fans and analysts jumping the gun either way? I'll tell you my thoughts coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Eagles News Now podcast. I'm professional wrestler Chris Wilde. This is Bar 4133, and the quarterback controversy is in full high effect here in Philadelphia as Jalen Hurts put together another good game in a losing effort against the Arizona Cardinals, and the reports on Carson Wentz just seem to get more negative as the days go by. But my question to everybody watching right now is, are we as fans, are the analysts out there in TV and radio land, are they jumping the gun on either guy, both positively or negatively? And the guy I want to talk about first is Carson Wentz, the $128 million man. Now, look, he comes into this league in 2016 with rookie head coach Doug Peterson, and even though the season, record-wise, was a loss, you looked at Carson Wentz and you thought, man, if you can just get this guy some players, some wide receivers, a good running game, he could be the guy. He's got the athletic ability. He's got all the intangibles. He is your prototypical NFL quarterback. He showed off his athleticism in 2017 by sometimes when plays weren't there to be made, he made them. We all remember that Monday night game against the Washington Redskins when it looks like he's going to be sacked. He comes out of the pile and runs away. The awesome pass to Corey Clement in the end zone, and then eventually gets hurt late in the season. Freak accident, torn ACL, and even with a torn ACL, throws a touchdown pass to Alshon Jeffrey. Now, after that injury, this guy had to sit and watch his backup, Nick Foles, as we all know, the legend of Nick Foles, not only take the team into the playoffs, but beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl and becoming a Super Bowl MVP and Philadelphia icon afterwards. 2018, Carson doesn't start the season because he's still out with the ACL, comes back after a couple games, puts together stat-wise a pretty decent year, breaks his back in the process, and again watches Nick Foles take the Eagles into the playoffs. And if Alshon doesn't drop a big-time pass against the New Orleans Saints, who knows what happens after that. And then we can all remember most recently 2019, people seem to forget this, that Carson threw for over 4,000 yards last year without a wide receiver having 500 yards. I mean, that's amazing. I think he's the first guy to do that. And he brought a team of, as we know, backup to backup type practice squad players into the playoffs and then gets destroyed by Jadeveon Clowney. Late hit. Takes him out with a concussion, and he never finishes the playoff game before it even gets started. And then we come to this year, 2020, which has been bad for everybody. It's been terrible for Carson Wentz, as he has not looked like the same quarterback. Stat-wise, he's the worst in the league. I mean, listen to these stats. Up until the Green Bay game, he had 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Very, very un-Carson Wentz-like. And look, and that's just the stats. The eye test tells you differently, too, where it's worse than what the stats are, in my opinion. Indecisive, holds the ball too long. Again, throws the interceptions, has horrible, which he's always been horrible at, fumbling the ball, but it seemed even worse this year. And yes, poor offensive line, wide receivers in and out, always hurt. But he has just been absolutely terrible. However, because of one bad year, one terrible year, does it erase all the good that he's done? And I know some will argue with me that he has regressed since the injury in 2017 year by year, despite what he did last year, because those last 4 games that he played were against some pretty bad teams. And I know others will say, yeah, but you still can't erase some of the ways that he got to the playoffs. I mean, we remember that throw to Miles Sanders in Washington that not many quarterbacks could make. The fact that, again, he goes into the Giants game with Brandon Brooks injured, Miles Sanders injured, and somehow makes Boston Scott into a little mini legend for that year in Philadelphia. But I don't know. It's a big question. I mean, it is a huge question. Is it just one bad year? I mean, let's say that Jalen Hurts isn't in the discussion, and you really don't. You just have Nate Sudfeld. Does Carson Wentz come back next year? Hopefully, with let's not forget this is 2020, a year where there's no crowd, there was no offseason. There's a new offensive coaching staff that he really didn't get time to be with. So many different X factors into this. So does he come into next year more healthy? Does he come into now, after having a bad year, a different perspective, actually getting an off season, maybe actually having fans back in the arena by that time? And does he play like the Carson Wentz of old? That's the big question mark. Now, a lot of Philadelphia fans say, no, he's broken. Like, it's done here. He's done. After this year, people say he's mentally soft. That's another video that I already have ready to put out as well about his mental capabilities. So I'm not going to talk about it here. But it's a huge question mark. And also the Eagles paid him. They signed him to a contract that's almost untradeable. I say almost because it is, but they're going to have to give up a draft pick in Carson Wentz for a team to pay to take him. That's my opinion. Now let's go to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, the biggest topic during the NFL draft was the Eagles drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round after Carson had brought them to the playoffs, and after paying Carson all that money. It just seemed crazy to bring Jalen Hurts in. Now, obviously, he has put together some really awesome games. I talk about this eye test. He passes the eye test. He looks elusive. He's the next generation style NFL quarterback. When I say that, you look at guys like Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson to an extent, that are dual threats, can do it with their feet and can throw the ball. Jalen Hurts answered some questions last week when people said that he couldn't throw the ball, and he had a game that no other Eagle has had since Michael Vick, with throwing for over 300 yards and having a rushing touchdown as well. Again, you couldn't have asked for a better debut for the first couple games, maybe winning the Arizona game from Jalen Hurts. He's looked absolutely awesome. Now, are we jumping the gun with him? It's only been 2 games. We're a fan base, and some of us jumped on after 2017, but the ones that have been here as an Eagle fan for a while can remember the Bobby Hoying days when Bobby Hoying had good games, and everybody, I think it was the Philadelphia Daily News that compared him to Joe Montana. I wish somebody can find that cover for me. Please post your comment with the link, but I know it's out there. We remember A.J. Feely, right, coming in relief for Donovan McNabb, looking really good. Jeff Garcia. I mean, this has happened. We get this small sample size, and we just blow it up, right? Now, look, in retrospect, Carson Wentz had 10 games in 2017, 10, where he looked amazing, and we thought he was the guy. Now, some of us are saying no. Actually, a majority of us are saying no, he's not the guy. So how do we look at Jalen Hurts after 2 and think that he is? Is that going to be a mistake going forward? Now, maybe it's a mistake that you take. I don't know. And the Eagles are going to give Jalen Hurts these next 2 games to see really where he's at. But let's just say that he continues this great play. Are 4 games enough to anoint Jalen Hurts the next franchise quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles? I'm not sure. I mean, it's a question that we're just going to have to see. Jalen Hurts coming out of college, there were so many fans and analysts that said, look, this guy's just not, he's a great college quarterback, but he's not going to be a great starting NFL quarterback. Now, me, not being a big college guy, I look at him in the NFL these past 2 games, and I watch his highlights from Oklahoma and Alabama, and they're the same. I mean, he's the same guy. Okay, he was successful in college. There's no reason to me, from what my eyes can see, against the best defense in the Saints and a really good defense in Arizona. Okay, and maybe not as great as the Saints defense, but you got a guy like Budda Baker that Jalen Hurts just drug into the end zone Sunday, and Patrick Peterson, who can still play to an extent. And he looked great throwing the ball, which no one thought he could do. So, again, are we jumping the gun with positivity for Jalen Hurts? Are we jumping the gun with negativity for Carson Wentz? This fan base is split, like, I think even greater than the Nick Foles, Carson Wentz topics up through the years. So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see. One thing about this Eagle organization, this Eagle team, is it's never boring. Whether it's negative or positive, there's always something to talk about, and it's going to be interesting to see. I really love what I'm seeing in Jalen Hurts. I think he's the real deal. There's just something about the guy. You see that leadership intangible in him. You see the way that he commands the huddle. You see, how he's not fazed by anything. I think when you look at him on the sideline, I watched him with about 3 players do these crazy handshake gimmicks, which you don't see with Carson Wentz. You don't see him walking up he goes right to the bench with the other quarterbacks and starts looking at the tablet, where Jalen Hurts, you see him, he's actually got some kind of chemistry with his offensive team, with his offensive staff. So it's those things I just think makes it. It's that it factor that Jalen Hurts has and that Carson Wentz is really, really, really lacking this year. It makes you wonder if the stories are true that you've heard over the years of him not being able to get along with the locker room. It's unreal that Saturday or Sunday came out a report that he wasn't happy with being the backup and he wanted out. I mean, it makes all these things, you look at these things in deeper retrospect, but I'm interested to see how it turns out, guys. If you were to ask me right now, I think they go with Jalen Hurts and try to trade Carson away, but there's just no shot that these two can play together next year. I just don't see how that can work out with as much money as you're just throwing money away, sending Carson on the bench. But what do you guys think? Are we jumping the gun? Who's your guy? Is it Carson Wentz? Is it Jalen Hurts? Should the Eagles try to trade Jalen Hurts since he'll probably have more value than Carson Wentz at the end of the year? I'd love to hear you guys' opinions. This is definitely a hot topic. There's so many different takes, and I'm just kind of sitting in the middle. I just want a winner. That's it. I've said it before. I just want a winner. It doesn't matter who is under center to me. I want a winner. Somebody I can watch that'll win games. It doesn't matter to me who it is. Those are my thoughts, guys. That's all I have for this video. As always, stay safe. If you like what you've seen, please hit that subscribe button. As I'm trying to truck my way to 2,000 subscribers, I'm over 500 away. So let's see if we can get that done. I appreciate everybody watching this video. I appreciate all the comments, good, bad, or indifferent. Please leave them. Have a great day, guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Go Birds. I'll see you later. Hats and robes, hats and robes. I gotta have me my hats and robes, hats and robes, hats and robes. I gotta have me my hats and robes. Nothing like it.